What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fear.
So the concept of asking a lot of questions, it sounds like a simple concept, but there's obviously reasons people don't ask a lot of questions. And I know part one of the book goes into all of the reasons why people would avoid asking these questions. So can we go there for a minute and just kind of run through some of the reasons that people avoid asking questions in the first place?
Perfect. We call it the 7 roadblocks to asking. And the first one is a sense of self-worthiness. This is your self-esteem on bail, so to speak, of who am I? I can't ask you guys that question or whatever, right? The second one is like fear, which is false evidence appearing as real. And fear is faith upside down and inside out and reversed at some levels. The next one is just plain stubbornness. We had a great story from my own brother about that, who was a brilliant guy, photograph of mine, but stubborn as hell. Next is doubt, right? We just either go, if I ask them, they'll think I'm stupid, arrogant, dumb, or I don't know. I should know. This is my job, or this is my wife, this is my relationship, or whatever it is. So we all have those kind of doubts. Next one is pattern paralysis, where, Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing and expect something new, you're cuckoo, which in German means crazy, which a lot of us are crazy because you keep going to the same job and expect a bonus or a raise and don't understand that you're not fulfilling your destiny. And that's what maybe the best thing out of this thing is people are going, hey, wait a second, I got to re-vector, I got to re-pivot, I got to go in a new direction, which is the first thing you guys said, is that that's what asking does. It gets you to do that. And then the last one, and we can talk to any one of them in depth in every way, but the last one's disconnection, which is really heartbreaking to me. And I'll just do it at the level of, we go to restaurants, we still can move around here in Arizona. And we also have been to Florida where we got relatives. And all these kids live in their cell phone instead of talking to each other when they're at dinner. And you go too much, hey guys, in the old days, window deal time if you're a salesman like I was, but now it's screen time, both computer and cell phone. You go, boy, you are disconnected.
No, I think it's, these roadblocks, the 7 roadblocks, like you were saying here, they're interesting because you can kind of look deep into any one of them. I mean, one of them that stands out for me is pattern paralysis. The fact that you're kind of just stuck in your own head. Maybe there's a childhood stuff that might have not given you some perspective. I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on that, Crystal.
Yeah. So it's funny because you see that all the time. And I'm sure, we recognize that in ourselves, at least at some point in our lives. I honestly think when we talk to people that we've probably recognized these 7 roadblocks at least once in our lives. And some of them are more prevalent. But that pattern paralysis, it's that thing where, what you're doing didn't work last week or last month or last year. And, it's not going to work next week, next month, and next year, but you just keep doing it because you're stuck in this pattern and you just keep doing the same thing over and over and you never stop to challenge it. You never stop to ask yourself the right questions. Is this working? Is this producing the result I want, whether it's in my relationships? And this happens all the time in relationships where, we trigger each other and we have these patterns that we're locked into and we can make each other miserable. And we never stop to challenge the pattern and go, are we paralyzed by this pattern that's just wrecking us and just stealing all of our joy and happiness and the potential to have a great relationship? So it's when you stop and you start asking the questions. And that's what we're encouraging people to do, is when you recognize that you're in that pattern paralysis where nothing is changing, whether it's in your work or your and business life or your relationships, all relationships, or even in your health and wellness. You're doing the same thing and like, oh, I know I'm out of shape, but I can't get in shape because this, or I'll start eating, better after this, or, after this holiday, and then after this holiday, and then after this holiday. And suddenly the whole year is full of holidays. So there's never that time, right? And so looking at your own destructive patterns and going, start questioning them. Is this really working? And really being honest enough to answer those questions, candidly to yourself.
Yeah. And there's a question, I believe I might miss the wording a little bit, but who am I becoming? Or, it's the becoming question. And I remember reading that, and it could be applied, I'm assuming, to pretty much every one of these to kind of put a little magnifying glass on yourself.
Right. And we talk about that in the spiritual part of it because it's like the question pivot, right? So instead of when you're in a situation where you're trying to make a decision, or you're just trying to determine the correct path, we say, instead of saying, what am I going to get out of this? Ask yourself, who am I becoming if I do this thing or take this direction? And that's really important, because who we're becoming is what it's all about. It's not about a temporary gain. It's about, really, are we taking that correct path that leads us to that ultimate destiny that we were talking about in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe brought up the pattern paralysis. I think for me, the fear one is the one that resonates the most with me, and it's one of those things that's interesting, because there's people that I could probably ask questions to that would have the solution to the problems I have, but I'm afraid to ask those questions to those people, but I can't really put into words why I don't want to ask those questions. Let's talk about the fear one for a second. Like, why do you think that people are scared to ask for the solutions from the people that we know have the solutions?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to use my own story, and then I'm going to do your exact question. Is it 1974? I go bankrupt. I'd been in graduate school with Bucky Fuller. I tried to be him. He invented geodesic domes, and I built the Wall Street Racquet Club, Botanical Gardens, 8 years. I'm a young hotshot, and I thought, am I cool or what, man? But I was building out of plastic at exactly the wrong time, right? We had an oil embargo, and suddenly I couldn't get any, which was my best, worst experience, as it turns out. And I went bankrupt so fast, I asked myself the wrong question. I said, if you ask the wrong question, you get full of fear and go the wrong. I said, what if I go bankrupt? I checked a book out of the library because I had no money. How to go bankrupt by yourself. And so for 6 months, I'm in Hicksville, Long Island, New York, sleeping in a sleeping bag in front of another guy's room. And I kept asking myself, what am I really supposed to do? This is a question that she articulated, your destiny. We all have at least one, and maybe multiple, just like we all have multiple roadblocks. And I said, I want to talk to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life-changing difference. I go to my roommates, 3 guys at breakfast, and I say, hey, I want to be a professional speaker. Do you know anyone that's young? Not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a celebrity, not a Broadway star. The guy said, yeah, there's this kid a few years older than you. He's out talking to Hobart. He's really sensational. And by the way, I'm not going. Here's my ticket. When you get over your fears, miracles happen. Miracles are spontaneous events. I race out to Hauppauge, Long Island. This guy mesmerized the audience for 3 hours. At the end of which, his name, Chip Collins, became my great friend. But I went up and I said, I'm Mark Victor Hansen. You got no reason to want to do this, but I want to take you. I'm asking you, will you let me take you to lunch? Teach me how to do this crazy business. He said, chance of you making the kids 1 in 1,000. You saw me do it. Nobody can do what I do. You're not going to make it. And I go, oh, yeah. Let me just ask. He said, you stay out of real estate. I own the 5 boroughs of New York. I'll teach you how to do it if you stay in life insurance and stay out of my market. I said, okay. I did 1,000 talks a year the first 3 years in life insurance. Tony Robbins and I said, we're the only 2 guys we knew that were that crazy, because if you want massive success, you got to take massive result. But the point is, we got rejected a lot. And then people started liking the story, which is the story is a way to get out of your fear by following somebody else's story that's cut it. That's why we do 26 stories in here. But people kept saying, Mark, you got these great stories, which is, I'm a story man forever. So they said, do you have it in a book? And the first book I did, this is 1975, maybe, Stand Up, Speak Out and Win. And I sold it to little audiences, 6 people of a real estate, an insurance office, or 7 or 10, never over 50. And I said, look, this isn't a New York Times bestseller, not even a national bestseller, but it is my bestseller. And I want to sign it to you, your spouse, and your dog if you've got one. And we all did what you 2 guys did, but they gave me $10 for the book. I sold 20,000 copies, $10, $200,000. That's like $2 million today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one more time, I had a new car. I had everything I wanted, all because I learned how to ask and overcome the fear. Because went back to your question. I didn't know anyone in insurance. I didn't own any insurance. I didn't know what a premium was. I didn't know what a chartered life fund. I didn't nothing. But you did confront your fears, and Napoleon Hill said, and you just make it disappear, right? And everyone's got fear. And the question is will you confidently go, Thoreau said, confidently go in the direction of your heart's desire, and you'll have success unexpected in common hours.